Greetings Guardians, my name is Bife here. So, Bungie just dropped the new PvP trailer for Destiny 2. Let's talk about some of the stuff that was seen inside and go through some frames. First of all, I want to go ahead and point out two things near the very beginning. First up, this rocket launcher. Normally I wouldn't point out some small stuff like this were it not for the fact that Trials has been on the topic of conversation quite a lot recently, and this is stunningly similar, at least in terms of colour scheme, to previous Trials rocket launchers. This may just simply be a normal thing. I wasn't going to go ahead and put this in the thumbnail because it is just so distant from what it could be, but regardless, the iconography of Osiris could well be on the other side if Trials of Osiris is still a thing. And it's worth noting that if Trials weapons keep their theme of being yellow and gold, or yellow, gold and black, then we may be seeing this quite simply without the Osiris logos because now it's Trials of the Nine. So that's something cool. Next up is a sword that was being shown earlier. This is a great sword being wielded by a Titan. This does not seem as though it's going to be class specific, I don't think any of the swords will be, but there's something even more important to note here, which is again that sword types are officially a thing. New types of swords means that, oh, lo and behold, this is going to function differently from all the others, so that's really cool. Next up as well, we have this really awesome looking Dead Orbit armor. This is kind of Iron Man-esque almost. I can imagine there's a few people that are going to be very excited to see this. I don't know what I think about the green, but needless to say, it's kind of clear that that's a shader at this point in time. But regardless, Dead Orbit rocking some fantastic looking armor this time around. Next up, we've got a clip of the dubious volley in action. For those of you who don't know about this storied exotic, this was first sort of shown off around about the time of the Taken King, where it was leaked through the Destiny database and then quickly purged. After that was said and done, it came back up again, potentially as an exotic we might see in Rise of Iron, and then finally we saw it within Destiny 2. This is actually really interesting here because we get to see it using its true competitive power, and it frickin' destroys dudes. I mean, look at this nonsense, that is crazy. If we get heavy ammo as much as we do and dubious volley is as powerful as that, then heck, I'm using that all the time. It looks like it's possibly the most powerful heavy weapon we've seen thus far. Next up we have a really quick clip of a Haka sidearm, which appears to be a returning model from previous games, one of the blues perhaps, but also it's accompanied by an old friend. That is, as far as I can tell, a Hawksaw, a Saurus weapon that was originally sold by the Crucible manufacturers. I don't know exactly whether that is going to be the renaming of it, but seeing as what appears to be a Saurus PDX 41 or 45 has also returned into Destiny, I think it's entirely possible that we might just well see this. So yeah, very damn cool stuff. Next up, we need to talk about this crazy exotic thing here, which is, well, nuts. It looks ridiculous. It just vaporizes 3 dudes in the blink of the eye. But more importantly, those Guardians drop crests. I think for starters, that, needless to say, means that Supremacy is going to be returning. As for the weapon itself, I don't know whether that's a shotgun or a rocket or some kind of energy weapon, a fusion rifle perhaps, some kind of specialized fusion, but it's damn weird looking, and it vaporizes 3 dudes in the blink of an eye. Yeah, I'm confused by this weapon, but I look forward to using it. I look forward to destroying some face with it, so that's going to be damn cool. Following up after this, we have a Warlock that is using this ridiculous electric shotgun that we've seen previously in trailers. This does look like it's going to be an exotic because previously when we've seen this, Bungie has been mentioning that there will be a ton of new exotics and has portrayed it alongside things such as the Dubious Volley and Sweet Business, so we know that this is going to be an exotic shotgun to find out. But the most important thing here is actually not to do with the new exotic, but the old one that you might have missed in this clip. Take a closer look at that Titan. That Warlock is using an electric shotgun, but the Titan is wearing an old friend. For those of you who remember the Taikonaut helmet from Destiny 1, it was an exotic helmet that looked exactly like what's being worn right now, and this is actually not the first time that this happens. It appears that all over this trailer not only are old legendaries returning, but also old exotics appear to be returning, and there's at least 2 instances including this of this actually happening. Plus, just so that you guys remember, the Taikonaut gave you the tracking perk on rocket launchers for free, as well as giving you a bunch of bonus heavy ammo and whatnot, and increased stability and I think range with rocket launchers, something along those lines. But the important point to note here is that the Titan is also wearing the Taikonaut whilst using a rocket launcher, so it does make some sense. So maybe this is indeed returning. And the second piece of information which shows that indeed some exotics might well be returning is this. Take a look at the Starfire protocol that is returning. This is so similar in design, it's almost completely identical minus the fact that by default the Starfire protocol is blue and not black. But I think most people tended to use it with a different shader that turned it black anyway. That's the kind of pretty typical coloring that represented it even on its icon within Destiny in the game. So I don't see how that might not be. I mean, it's entirely possible as well, do note, that when you look at this, there is a whole load of potential other options, and if this is something at least similar aesthetically, I might not mind that, but these are at least two examples of what might be returning exotics. And this once again is why I put that question mark in both the title and in the thumbnail. We are not 100% sure on this, but it does look really damn similar. I wouldn't even have raised this question were it just for one of them, but two of them seems a little bit suspect. I feel like Bungie is teasing things here. The Warlock here as well, in this next few sequences, is using the Sunshot exotic energy weapon hand cannon, and once again this goes to show that the exotics we got back in the beta are indeed not class specific. And finally, something very entertaining, at least to those of us who are jumping in with Eververse and a bit of silver, is that we do indeed see a few fun new emotes throughout the trailer. Very cool stuff here indeed. I, in particular, am a fan of the Hunter and his finger guns, which are just killing people left, right, and center. Completely overpowered exotic, please nerf Bungie. Either way, I hope you guys found that informative. That's kind of my trailer breakdown of all of this. And tell me what you think of those potential returning exotics, because if they are, that brings up some really interesting questions. Do they use this as an opportunity to potentially bring back some cool exotics from year 1, 2, and 3 that weren't necessarily so loved, but might flourish within the PvP meta or the PvE environment of Destiny 2? The sandbox is always the question to ask. I'm particularly perplexed by the idea that you've got grenades returning in Starfire Protocol, because of course that gave you double fusion grenade, and I think that Bungie has learned their lesson sufficiently with stickies in the old meta. Maybe it's the case that it gives you two, but it removes all the tracking from the grenades and removes any aim assist that you might have had when you throw one. So who knows, man, maybe it's just that they're going to turn them back into the old Halo stickies. If that's the case, I might still be fine with it, because even landing one of those might be tougher, and it's not a one-hit kill anyway, so maybe that's okay, maybe that's balanced, and maybe it's a thing for PvE, but I'm not totally sure. What are your thoughts, guys? Tell me what you think in the comment section down below. And if you were entertained or informed by the video, a like is greatly appreciated, and of course you can subscribe to the channel by hitting the sub button, and of course if you hit the bell next to subscribe you can turn on email notifications, which means that you will never miss any of the content that I make. But of course, you guys simply tuning in is quite enough for me. And in the meantime, my name is Bife. Perudacia Arastra. I'll see you Starside.